Any way you look at it, WWE made the absolute right call by having Iyo Sky walk out of that Money in the Bank ladder match as Miss Money in the Bank. Iyo Sky has the briefcase, and at any point in the very near future, she can cash in on either the WWE Women's World Champion Rhea Ripley on Monday Night Raw, or the WWE Women's Champion on SmackDown, Asuka. Technically also the NXT Women's Champion, but again, I'm not a fan of having developmental involved in this. That's a whole different topic. But with that said, whenever I talk about wrestling on this channel, it's not about what happens in the middle of the ring. I'll talk about some few moves that added to the story, because from my point of view, the story is more important than the actual action. Simply put, the narrative is what gets us invested in this character, in these characters, in the matches themselves. That's the only way we actually care about what's going on in the ring. And now with Iyo Sky walking out as Miss Money in the Bank, we know that this dissolution of Damage Control is now firmly in place, because her next feud, her next rivalry, pretty much, barring her cashing in the briefcase, is with her former Damage Control mate in Bayley. And Dakota Kai, she'll come into play later if this feud is stretched long enough. She's currently injured, but eventually, if this feud, this rivalry goes on for months and months and months, much like Damage Control versus Becky Lynch did, then eventually we might see Dakota Kai in play in this entire situation. But from a storytelling perspective, we all saw it during their Money in the Bank ladder match as well. Bayley was in it for herself. Iyo Sky realized that. They went at it. Iyo Sky walked out with the briefcase. The crowd popped for both moments. Why? Because they've seen throughout the past few months, throughout the past few weeks, that Bayley has been taking advantage of Iyo Sky as a character within the ranks of Damage Control. And we've seen a little bit of Iyo Sky just holding her own, holding her ground, and we support that, because that's how it's supposed to be. That's the storytelling narrative that WWE has been utilizing with these two characters. And it's a storytelling narrative that was not going to be able to be applied to anybody else in the match. Zelina Vega, she already had her shot. Her having the briefcase, not really that... Zelina Vega winning the briefcase would have been, in my opinion, the exact same thing as last year's winner in Austin Theory. Okay, here's a star who wins the briefcase, has potential, but there's no really story thread to pull on. There's nobody she can chase that you'll care about. And she has history with Rhea Ripley, but Rhea Ripley beat her ass at Backlash. We know that. That's a certainty. That happened. And the run that Rhea Ripley is on right now, even if Zelina Vega cashes in that briefcase on Ripley, we know Ripley's going to get it back. Just like when Nikki ASH won the briefcase. Charlotte got it back at that point, because they were characters on two different spectrums at two different levels. The same thing here when it comes to Zelina Vega as the Money in the Bank briefcase. Now, if they keep building her up, maybe at some point in the future, she'll get to a point where she's actually a threat. She's not right now, not character-wise. Then we have the whole triangle over here. Becky Lynch, Trish Stratus, Zoe Stark. That entire story right now does not need the briefcase. It doesn't need the fact that Trish, Becky, or Zoe can cash in to become world champion, intertwined with this whole grudge rivalry, grudge match, and mentorship, and everything that's going on that is working with Becky Lynch, Trish Stratus, and Zoe Stark. It's all working. You don't throw a briefcase in there just because. Just to add fuel to that fire, which doesn't need it. This is just my point of view from a storytelling perspective. Now, on the other hand, you have Iyo Sky and Bayley. Now, if Bayley would have won the match, we've seen that before, but once again, she would have been able to run her mouth. She would still have something to dangle in front of Iyo Sky's face. I'm the leader of Damage Control. I have the briefcase. I want to be a future Women's World Champion. Ha ha ha, ding dong. And that's a lot less interesting than having Iyo Sky win that briefcase. Get her revenge on Bayley. Have Bayley have her comeuppance, and at the same time, give Iyo Sky a clear babyface that the crowd wants to cheer. A perfect villain, a perfect foil, a perfect rival who knows what she's doing, who knows how to get on the crowd's nerves to the point that it propels Iyo Sky into even more of a babyface in Bayley. Not to mention the matches that they're about to have between Iyo Sky and Bayley. And then you add on top of all of that, you add the possibility of Iyo Sky versus Rhea Ripley for the world championship, or Iyo Sky versus Asuka, or versus Charlotte Flair, or versus Bianca Belair for the women's championship. Come on. There is so much potential right there. There is so much potential to actually have that briefcase make Iyo Sky a world champion, and have that world championship make Iyo Sky a household name within the women's division. Make her respectable. Make her an actual threat to every single woman in any division on Raw or SmackDown, which is why Iyo Sky walking out with the briefcase was the absolute best decision, and at this point in time, it might have been the only decision, the only choice to actually walk out with that briefcase. All things considered, from a storytelling perspective, from a character perspective. That's all I'm saying. So with that said, what are your thoughts about Iyo Sky walking out with the briefcase? Do you think she was the right choice? Do you think that maybe they should have gone with Zoe Stark, Bayley, Trish, Becky, Zelina? Leave your thoughts, comments, predictions on the comments section below. In the meantime, tune in later on tonight to the USA Network for another episode of NXT. I'm Alexis Carrillo. This has been Wrestling Talk, and I'll see you next time.